This is a romantic story about a privileged woman and a reckless man fall in love despite their different social classes. The story begins with girls sitting in a classroom. The teacher angrily calls out a few students by name and lines them up. When the teacher asks a girl some questions, her friend Bobby helps her. However, she soon gets caught. Later, we see a busy night filled with bikes, girls, and boys. This is Bobby's family, her parents and her sister. Then, we meet Hugo Oliveira, a popular and brave guy in town. He competes with other guys and wins the pull-up competition, making his friends happy. Meanwhile, Bobby meets her friends, and they all start dancing and celebrating. Soon after, she gets invited to a party for rich people, and they all decide to go. At the party, a guy notices Bobby, approaches her, and calls her beautiful. Before moving forward, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It will help us keep bringing your favorite movie recaps. He dated her in the past and wants forgiveness, but she doesn't seem interested. The gang decides to enter the party and cause trouble. Hugo spots Bobby and her ex-boyfriend, which makes him smile. One party guest steals money from a purse. A girl catches him in the act. She doesn't mind him taking 50 euros, but when he tells her to go have lunch, she gets angry and walks away. Hugo approaches Bobby and talks to her about the incident. Last time, he called her a bad name and made her uncomfortable. He admits he kept calling her that name, and she responds by throwing her drink at him. When her ex laughs, Hugo pushes him and breaks the table. Hugo lifts Bobby onto his shoulders and walks out. He throws her into the swimming pool while his friends fight inside the party. The guy calls the cops, and the group leaves, but Hugo tells Bobby they'll bathe together next time. Bobby can't escape because her dress is too revealing due to the water. Later, as Bobby and the guy leave, he admits he set it up to spend time with her. However, his plan backfires when the group returns to destroy his car. The guy hits one of their gang members, who is followed by Hugo. Hugo doesn't waste time and teaches the guy a lesson while Bobby calls for help. An old man tries to help, but it doesn't go well for him, so he leaves. Bobby is left with no choice but to take matters into her own hands. She grabs Hugo from behind, taking her chance. The guy takes his car and leaves, while Hugo teases Bobby for a minute. She asks a sketchy-looking stranger for a ride, but Hugo shoos him away and finally gives her a ride. When Bobby gets home, she meets her mother, who learns what really happened in the car. Her sister explains that Hugo is also known as Hero in town. The next day, Hugo wakes up, steals money from his brother, and is reminded about dinner with their dad. Bobby's friend Katina sees Hugo and calls him out for stealing her allowance. She complains, but Hugo doesn't care. Katina seems happy to go to lunch with him, but he expects her to invite him to a nice place. Instead, she gets annoyed and leaves. Later, Hugo joins his father for dinner and learns his brother is late and his mother is away. He goes to his old room and starts reflecting on his past. Hugo was once a brilliant student, but something changed in his life, and he moved in with his brother. Bobby feels guilty for ditching Hugo and going off with a stranger. She assumes he is poor and needed money, but she is going out with him again. At home, Bobby's parents are angry because one of the men from the previous night was seriously injured, so they are reporting him. She reveals his name at the end. Her sister thinks she's in trouble because of it. Bobby gets a call from Katina's mother and decides to join a local race where she's also attending. Hugo shows up and starts teasing her again. She tells him that she told her parents he broke the guy's nose at the party, and his friend fears he might go to jail for it. Hugo isn't worried though. He believes that by the time of the court hearing, she'll be so crazy for him that she'll do anything to save him. They then have a strange race, where they have to carry their girls on their backs while racing. She rides an unfamiliar bike with another man. After a long race, one girl gets injured, and the cops show up to arrest everyone. Before escaping, one cop manages to take their picture. She hides and waits for Hugo to arrive. He picks her up later, but not before giving her his jacket and watching her change. Before leaving, he tries to kiss her and asks if she will still tell on him in court. She says yes and slaps him. Hugo's brother sees their pictures in the newspaper and looks worried. The next day, Hugo sneaks in her room through the window and puts up a big poster of their picture, so she'll see it when she wakes up. She's really happy and starts to fall in love with him. She decides to meet Hugo again at a party. Bobby goes to the party and starts dancing. Hugo arrives right after and touches her hand. She comes home after some time, and this time, her mother catches her drinking. Her mother slaps her before she goes to bed. Bobby gets a call from Hugo, who says he wants to see her. He asks what they will do tomorrow, and she agrees to go anywhere. The next day, Bobby waits for Hugo outside her school, and he picks her up, which her teacher sees. While driving around, Hugo spots a man in a car with his mother. He remembers when his mother left, and later he found her with a man in an inappropriate position. His anger takes over, and he beats the man badly. He starts hitting metal with his hands, unable to believe his mother could do such a thing. This moment marks the beginning of his darker side. Bobby hugs him and tries to calm him down. He later shares that his father and brother think his mother is on a trip with a friend. They have many romantic moments before returning to town. Bobby spends more time with Hugo and his biker gang. Hugo's other girl comes and causes trouble for Bobby, and they start fighting. Hugo and his friends intervene, and Hugo takes Bobby away, assuring her he will never cheat on her. He takes her to a tattoo shop, and she happily gets a tattoo. Hugo arrives at his house and finds Bobby's father, who wants to talk to him. Hugo tells Bobby's father that there's no need to worry, as she is calming down. He explains that her brother warned him her actions might land her in jail because she acted aggressively at school. The teacher explains she could be expelled for signing her own leave letter. Bobby's mother picks her up and pays an €8,000 fine to prevent her expulsion. She tells Hugo everything, and he enters her room through the window. Hugo takes Bobby to an empty pool at night, and they enjoy themselves. One day, Hugo visits Bobby's school, talks to the teacher, and tells her to stop causing trouble for Bobby. Bobby asks her father for a favor, and he agrees, deciding to handle her mother. Hugo takes Bobby to an old house far from town. They enjoy their time together there until morning. The next day, while Bobby and Hugo are spending time together, Hugo's friend shows up with the group, and they start partying. Bobby gets angry and kicks everyone out, including Hugo. Hugo amazed her by doing something wonderful and wrote on a building that he loved her. Later, he learned how to cook good food just for Bobby. He called her and found out that her mother's ring had gone missing after their friends visited her house. This made him furious. He went to his gang and fought with the leader until the girl gave him the missing ring. Hugo returned to Bobby's house and gave her back the ring. When she saw his injuries, she couldn't help but take care of him. On the court date, Bobby was asked about what happened that night. Before leaving with Hugo, Bobby scolded her mother, making her cry. Hugo promised he would change for her. Bobby's mother decided to throw a party for Bobby's 18th birthday. Bobby went out to gift her teacher, but saw Papita and realized that Hugo had been the one who abducted Papita earlier. She ran away from there. Soon, Bobby arrived at Hugo's apartment to talk. She scolded him and decided to break up with him. On party day, Bobby was getting ready while Hugo was still thinking about her. Hugo's friend was preparing for a race, but Hugo wasn't around. He eventually showed up at Bobby's party, and it seemed he had changed for her. Bobby was surprised to see his transformation. They slowly got closer and kissed each other. Hugo's friend is about to win the race, but soon after, he has an accident. They don't find out about it right away, but Hugo learns that Pollo is no longer alive. Devastated, Hugo breaks down in tears. Bobby can't handle it and wants to leave, but before she does, Hugo slaps her. Hugo starts doing pull-ups, thinking about everything happening in his life. Meanwhile, Bobby spends more time with her neighbor. She forgets Hugo, deletes his number, and moves on while he suffers. One day, while Hugo is on a call, Katina arrives at his apartment and wishes him a Merry Christmas. She gives him a picture of him and Paolo, and he starts crying. They haven't seen Bobby since the accident. Katina suggests he forget Bobby because she's with someone else. Later, Hugo goes to the phone booth to call Bobby. Her mother answers but won't give the phone to Bobby. He watches them drive off together. Overcome with emotion, he stays outside his apartment, crying in despair. In the end, Hugo talks to his brother, telling him he's leaving for work because he can't stay there anymore. He remembers when everything started. He realizes that some moments only happen once, and no matter how hard you try, you'll never feel the same again. you'll never feel 3 meters above the sky. If you like this romance movie recap, please support us with a like and subscribe to this channel. It means a lot to us.